Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss situation in Ukraine on the 9th of June. More bad news is coming from the front lines for the Ukrainians. So let's start. If we take a look at the West Sources map, if we take a look at Slaviansk bridgehead, this is Slaviansk, Kramatorsk, this is Auliman, Svetogorsk, the area which we discussed a few days in a row. According to the Russian sources, the Russians managed to establish control over Tatianovka. We discussed this situation a few times. And this morning we have another update that the Russians established control over Prishep, this town, this Tatianovka and this Prishep. So we can say that the Russians are developing their bridgehead in this area and they're preparing themselves for something more, for something bigger and more valuable. Furthermore, the Russians started demining process in this area, and we know that if they're doing demining, that means that they're preparing themselves for another offensive operation. And by this evening, by the time I start recording this video, of the local time of course, the Russians start their offensive operation towards Sidorova. This is the town that located on the south from Tatianovka and Prishep and on the north from Slaviansk. This is the town. So let's update this part of the map, not the entire area but just this front line according to the information we have, and let's try to understand and think what the Russians are planning to do next. What are their next steps? So, this is the current situation. We can split this area into a few parts. The north part that includes town Bogorodishnya and town Krasnopolin Dolina, these two towns. This is a front line, fortified positions that Ukrainians are trying to hold against the Russian attack. Another line is between Kristishche, this Sherwood Forest, as the Russian call this area, and Sidorova. This is the second line of defense. The third line, Mayaki, Donetsky, Raigorodok. This is the third line, and after that we can see that Slaviansk is right in front of our eyes. If we are saying that Slaviansk and Kramatorsk is the heart of Donbas Arc operation, then we can say that Tatianovka Prishep bridgehead is the heart attack. So this morning the Russians started their offensive operation from Tatianovka towards Prishep. This is Prishep. Of course there were some support operation from Yarova, this is the line, and from Drobyshevo, this is the line. And by the time I start to record this video, there was another offensive attack from this bridgehead towards Sidorova. And Sidorova is the key region in this area. This is a very small village, but this village is very important. And according to the Russian sources, they announced that this evening there were heavy clashes in this town already. Not like in the suburbs or in the field between this bridgehead and this town, but exactly in the town. So it's very interesting because I see that from day to day it's much more easier for the Russians to take more and more territory in Ukraine. So what is this? Or the front line is entirely collapsing, or the Ukrainians just leaving this position because they understand that there is no need or there is no reason to protect this area at all in the near future. So let's update this map, and according to this evening report that the Russians already in Sidorova, and this town is still on the Ukrainians but there are heavy clashes. So let's update this town in black color so we understand that for now it's a gray zone. And the Russians are trying to attack and to establish control over this town. Furthermore, we remember that the Russian army number 20 and number 35 is moving towards Dolina, Krasnopolin and Bogorodishnya. For now, these towns is on the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians to control this town. It's very difficult for them, of course, but the Russians also have a lot of losses in this Sherwood Forest as well. But they're moving and pushing. But Ukrainians still controlling this area. Now let's go back to Sidorova. Why Sidorova is so important? Let's take a look at this map. This is Sidorova. This is Seversky Donetsk. This is Prishep. This is Tatianovka. This is our church. This is Sidorova. So We can say that we are watching from this area towards Sidorova. This is it. And there is one important road. So this is Sidorova. The Russians can move further to the Mayaki. This is Mayaki. But it would be very difficult to establish control over Mayaki. Not very difficult, but it will take time. There is another way what the Russians can do in this situation. Of course, they will have some support from this bridgehead, because this bridgehead that located on the west from Liman, this area is under the Russian control. I haven't updated, but you should know that this area is under the Russians. This is Shurova. The Ukrainians left this area maybe a week ago. So, of course, after establishing control over Sidorova, the Russians can move further to Mayaki, and they will do this, of course. No doubt they will do this. But there is another thing. You see this white line. This is the road that connects Sidorova and Khristishe through the Sherwood forest. Of course, there are a lot of Ukrainians in this forest, but this is a strategical road, and the Russians, of course, will try to establish control over this road, because with this road, if they are able to establish control or clear or attack this forest and do some significant success, like pushing Ukrainians from this forest as fast as possible, they will be able to attack from Sidorova towards Khristishevo. And if they are able to do this, we understand that there is no need, and it's like useless waste of Ukrainians' life to protect Dalina and Bogorodichna. So Sidorova is the vital area because of this road. I'm not sure, and I'm not saying that establishing control for this road for the Russians like a summer trip. It's not like that. There are a lot of Ukrainians in this Sherwood forest. It's totally mined. It's totally under artillery fire, but it's something like a push. We discussed that the Russians uses in this conflict few types of their tactics, like attack from different sides, like attack to split the area, like a small push, and after this push the Ukrainians front line collapse and the Ukrainians start running from this area, and more and more and more. So this is the kind of attack I think that the Russians are planning to do a push. It will be like a hard push, of course, but the main idea to force the Ukrainian forces located in Bogorodichna, Krasnodolina and Krasnopolye to retreat and leave this position, because of the fact that it might be very dangerous. And of course, the Russians can, of course, from Sidorova move towards the forest and attack these two areas from the back. So anyway, Sidorova is the key value, and who controls Sidorova controls the north of this bridgehead. I mean the area from Krasnopolye towards Bogorodichna. And the thing is that if we take a look at Sidorova one more time, there is no place where you can establish your positions. It's a small village, like few streets, 2 streets, 1 street, another 3, 1, 2, 3 streets, few private houses, and that's it. So it's very difficult to control this area. And if you take a look, this village is on the lowland. By the way, if you take a look, the forest is somehow a little bit on the hill. So this is the road. So this is the road. This is it. You can see it through the forest. Small snake that moves, that heading towards Khristishe. And this road is very important and vital for both parties in this conflict. So this is the situation in Slaviansk bridgehead. We can say also one important note, that today the president of Donetsk People Republic officially announced that the battle for Slaviansk has started. We announced this situation yesterday, they announced this today, so we'll see what's next, and we'll follow the Russians' updates and Russian progress in this area. Now let's talk a little bit about the Ukrainians. What can they do in this situation? Of course, the first thing they need to do is to leave this position. There is no need to keep this area anymore. At least they can do this, they can keep like a few hours, but they should keep this position just until Sidorova is under their control. As soon as they understand that town falls, they need to retreat from this position immediately and try to save as much as possible of their heavy equipment and tanks. By the way, this is the area where the Russians used their of course, again, Su-25 airplanes, aircraft, their flights. So it's like a regular support flight. It's a perfect weapon to destroy the enemy forces. So the Russians use these forces in this area, and I'm sure that they're going to do this more and more. By the way, another update for today. This day was the day when the Russians used their Su-57 like first time in the real battle. There was 4 aircraft of that type. They were flying together, and they destroyed some Ukrainian anti-air forces positions. I'm not sure, and I can't tell exactly where did they do this, but there were a lot of video, and I'm sure that you are able to find them, and we maybe will together understand where did the Russians attack and destroy the Ukrainians anti-air forces positions. And the final update about this area is that the Ukrainians should pay attention and be more and more careful with their front line between Donetsk and Raigorodok. They should keep their eye on this area, and they shouldn't allow anything to happen like happened with Tatianovka. This area is the most important part of Slaviansk bridgehead area, because if Donetsk and Raigorodok falls, the battle for this area from both sides have no need at all. It's like useless waste of both time. This is the most important area. So we'll see. But another important update that you should understand, that if we try to calculate the distance between Sidorova and Slaviansk, is just 12 kilometers. So we can say that Slaviansk is under the Russian artillery fire control from many sides, from Sidorova and from Stary Karavan. So from 12 kilometers from both sides. And I'm sure, and I saw today there was a lot of videos of rocket attack, missile attack, artillery attack of this hard Kramatorsk, Slaviansk area. Now let's move to the west. The area between Slaviansk and Rubizhnoye. The area that moves along Mykolаевka, Starodubovka, Крывая Лука, Закитная, Дроновка, Платоновка, Серебрянка, Григорьевка, Белогоровка, Шепилевка, Привилье. This line. Yesterday in the evening, at night I must say, I got one important update that the Russians are doing something here. In my previous videos I told you that I'm not sure that the Russians are going to drop any attempts to cross the Seversky Donetsk River in any other place, and the only one place that left that the Russians can still cross is the area between Slaviansk and Rubizhnoye. And yes, in my previous video I gave you my projection that the Russians will try to establish control over Privilye. So somehow they're going to cross this river and to establish control over this town. We'll come to this town a little bit in a minute. And as you can see, and according to the Ukrainian military report, the Russians started their artillery preparation of this area. They bombed Serebryanka, they bombed Privilye. Also, yesterday I heard one episode from the radio. It was the Lugansk People's Republic radio, and the person from the radio asked question and did some interview of officer of Lugansk People Republic officer, and he discussed the situation in this area. They discussed, and he gave some insights from this area, and he told 2 important things. And the first one, that the Russians are pushing Seversk. I'm not telling you that it's kind of true. Maybe it's some kind of informational war. I'm not sure. But I listened to him, and it was very interesting. So the Russians are pushing Seversk. Of course, for now, just with commandos and scouts. Today you see that the Russians start their artillery preparation, so maybe they're planning to cross the river near Seversk, because we understand that if Seversk falls, we can say that Lysychansk agglomeration falls, but a little bit later, like in a month or something like this, because without this area, without this road, there is no need, and it's just a waste of time to protect this area. So it's like a cauldron. So he announced that there is a lot of actions around Seversk, and they told that the Russians managed to block Seversk from the north. I'm not saying about the cutting this road, but according to his words, the Russians are somewhere here. already working in this area, on this bridgehead. So they can cross the river easily. There is no forces and no power from Ukrainian side who can stop this crossing, like easy cross, no problem. And this is the situation about Seversk. So let's keep an eye on this area, and maybe that in a day, in a week, we're gonna see the crossing of Seversky Donetsk River in this area. Another attempt, that they did attempt months ago in this area. Maybe they're planning to do another one, and maybe soon we're gonna see the battle for Seversk. About Privilia, he told the following. So yesterday we published the video. I told you my projection about Privilia, and a few hours later I heard this conversation, and he told that the Ukrainians pushed towards Privilia and towards Novodruzhsk around 4,500 Ukrainian soldiers. So we can say that the area between Privilia and Novodruzhsk is the entire bridgehead. So it's like, we can say, one command center, one headquarter that controls this area. And this area, of course, is under the Ukrainian control. This is the area, and I think that the Russians are planning to attack this town for one reason. First of all, that this village moves along the river. So it's not so difficult to cross, and as soon as you cross the river you can establish control over some buildings, of course, which allow you to establish and to develop and increase your bridgehead in this area step by step. Of course, there are 4,500 Ukrainian soldiers. This is not a summer trip, but with the support of artillery, missile attack and rockets, I think that the Russians can do anything they want in this area. And the most important part, that this town is connected with Novodruzhsk just with one road. You see this road? This is the road. And of course, this road is easily under fire control from Rubizhnoye, just 4 kilometers. This area is a little bit on the hill, but it's just 4 kilometers, and from this side another 5 kilometers. So if you want to do this, of course you can do this. You can establish entire fire control, then to try to reduce Privilia to ruins, and after that to cross the river and establish some bridgehead. So that's why I suppose that this area is perfect. If we are talking about establishing another front line, I suppose that this area is the best area where the Russians can try to do this. Also, as you can see, it's a small bag. It's some kind of a bag that we saw in this area, in the Tatianovka Priship area. The same bag was in this bridgehead where the Russians were defeated, and this is like some kind of another bag. It's bigger bag, much bigger. That's allowed the Russians not to concentrate their forces at the same place. And so we'll follow this area, we'll follow these updates, and we'll see what's next. About Severodonetsk, I haven't got any updates for today, so I understand. Of course, I'm not talking about this area because according to the yesterday reports, this entire area is under the Russians and the Ukrainians are retreating from this area towards Lysychansk. This map is not updated, but I'm sure that in a day or in two we're gonna see all updates. And now let's talk about my favorite town in this bridgehead, about Toshkovka. Toshkovka. I was waiting for this day, I think, from the beginning of this special military operation. You know my special attitudes about this town. I think that this area, that the clashes in this area, something like the clashes that was in Azov, and Azovstal, Mariupol. It's a small town, but this town was by the Russians, by the Ukrainians. They established control one by one over this town for 1 week, or for 1 month, sorry. But today we got the final report, and not just report like a video or a small text on the icon that everything is fine. No, there is a video like reportage. You see this, if you have access to this map, you can check this video on Telegram. If you want, I will download for you. There was a picture video of battles near these towns, these very big buildings, 5 floors. So these buildings Ukrainians were using at their eye position, and they established their control there. So using this area, it was some kind of fortified positions, and they kept this area for a very long time. So this morning the Russians first established control over these mines. So it's like the factory, the plant zone, and first the Russians established. Then at noon we got some information, some reportage about the battles in this area, and by this evening the Russians established control over entire Toshkovka. If we take a look at this map, we're gonna see that Toshkovka establishing control over entire Toshkovka, including Chihirova, this block with these buildings that was under the Ukrainians for a very long time, and the Russians couldn't move further. Entire area is under the Russians, and now we can say that the road between Gorsko-Zolotoye area that leads to Lysychansk is not just under fire control, it's under physical control, because from these blocks, from these, I don't know, forests, small trees, you can cut this area physically to establish your blog post, anything you want. So we can say that this area is in operational tactical encirclement. Now they have just two ways how to leave this area, using Vrubivka, using Gorskaya, Novovanivka, Vrubivka, Nikolaevka road for escaping, and another road between these two forests, like using just regular fields, and that's it. But furthermore, the Russians reporting every day that they're moving from in Kamyshevacha more and more close to Zolotoye. We see that the West Sources map updates itself a little bit, not very fast if we are talking about the Russian progress, but the Russians are almost in Zolotoye. So all this area between Kamyshevacha and this Zolotoye, all this is under the Russian control, or at least in gray zone, where I can say like 80% of controls by the Russians. Vrubivka is also under very heavy fire and very heavy clashes. The Russians are pushing and they want to cut this road, and if they cut this road, we can say that Girsko-Zolotoye area becomes in tactical encirclement, and the only one road between these two forests will exist, and this is not very big bridgehead for evacuation. And from both these sides, from Vrubivka just 5 kilometers, from Chihirova Toshkovka 6 kilometers, you can cover this area with heavy artillery, and we can say that even a fly won't be able to cross these forests. So the battles for Nikolaevka and Vrubivka is vital. And if we are talking about that there are around 4,500 soldiers in this area, we can say that the same quantity is here. And if we are talking about these soldiers, they can retreat. But if we're talking about this group, they don't have any possibilities to retreat. I don't know, I don't understand why they're still there, but it's their choice. If I were Ukrainian, of course, to tell the truth, I don't know what to do in this situation. Because from one side, of course, I would like to save the soldiers, their lives, and I would like to give them opportunity and a chance to save them. Not like to throw them in this cauldron and it's like their problem, because as far as I see like this, nobody is trying to evacuate them. So of course, if I were there, I would try to save them. No matter that losing of this bridgehead can cause a lot of problems to Lysychansk. We discussed that until the Ukrainians have this supply road, they can lose entire this bridgehead, of course with some problems, but it's not so vital. So I would save these guys. So we'll see, maybe in a day or two, but I'm not sure that they have so much time. The Ukrainians will retreat from this area as well towards Lysychansk. About Popasnaya Flower, as the Russian called the area near Popasnaya, very heavy clashes around Bilogorovka, Berestova. The Russians are trying to physically cut the road of life between Bakhmut and Lysychansk agglomeration. So we'll see. I think that soon we're going to see some progress. According to the Russian sources map, the Russians established control over one important town, Pilipchatyne. According to the West sources map, this town was under the Russians a very long time ago, but it wasn't right. So the first case when the West sources map gave the territory to the Russians that the Russians didn't establish control over. So they did this just this morning from this Pilipchatyne. Also, the Russians are moving towards Vodrozhenie Roty. By the way, I remember that the Russians established control of this town a few weeks ago, but as far as I understand, the Ukrainians managed to push them back. So today there was another attempt, and the Russians established this control, and they reached this road. And also they're moving towards Dolomitne, so we can say that this plant where the Ukrainians have position is in operational encirclement. So a lot of news, a lot of updates, and one of the most important update that Zaluzhny, the head of the Ukrainian army, asked Zelensky permission to move the front line, to retreat from this position, from Lysychansk agglomeration, not towards Bakhmut line. So we can say that it might be another front line, and pretty beautiful front line, so they can all these forces push towards this river. There is Bakhmut, and try to keep this area, to enforce this area with the soldiers from Lysychansk. No, his request was to push the front line from not even towards Bakhmut, but towards this area. So according to Zaluzhny, he wants to establish the next front line here. Lysychansk, Kramatorsk, Konstantinovka, Toretsk. Because he announced that this area, this land, is much more prepared than the area near Bakhmut. So we'll see what's next. I would like to tell one more time that military summary channels condemned any kind of violence and aggression in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, and enjoy your day. Bye bye.